Hello, and a wonderful day to you. I tell you, I am all jazzed up after Mr. Mufara's webinar the other day. But this is my speaking portion of the English speaking Hmong webinar that we did on the 26th, or at least it was put out on the 26th. It provides information about the ONPASSIVE evolution with some history and with a little bit about what we can expect in the next several weeks.
Let's help me welcome Jeffrey Moloch.
Hello. Man, it's good to see you guys tonight. I'm excited about being here because I can just get to talk for a little while without having to worry about slides and put things together. Tabitha and obviously Sooker, who is not here, thank you so very much for hosting this and for bringing this large group, this wonderful group of people together to learn about what we're doing and a little bit about where we've been, where we are, and where we're hoping to go. When I was talking with Sooker earlier this week, he was indicating that you guys would like me to talk a little bit about the history and evolution of ONPASSIVE, where we got our roots from, so to speak. In talking with Dr. Williams today, I had mentioned that I was going to be talking about that. And I said, you know, this is a public webinar, so, you know, it probably wouldn't hurt to have somebody explain why a founder, why be a founder. I said, you know, and if I'm giving the history and you could tell them why they want to be a founder, I said, that'd probably be a good thing. So I appreciate very much your patience and your grace to allow me to bring Dr. Williams into this and let him do his little thing there too. I figured it'd probably be a little too much for everybody to listen to me for an hour or so. Right off the bat, though, Dr. Williams was picking up, I think, his children or grandchildren a little bit. He's going to be logging on as soon as he gets home. He will certainly be on before I'm finished. I'm sure I'll probably take 20, 25 minutes, depending. If I get excited and start talking faster, it might be a little less than that. So I don't know, but we can certainly get started with that. And I appreciate so much being here. We need to understand that it's kind of important, rather, you know, to know what's been done and where we are and where we're heading. So to start off with, in 2018, our founder, you know, Mr. Ash Mufara, our CEO, decided that he wanted to create a digital marketing platform. And the reason behind this was that he had this concept, a working from home concept that he called the digital life. You folks and me, we probably call it the laptop lifestyle, but it was a concept of having freedom to work from anywhere at all in the world and make a good living at it. And Mr. Mufara, by his own admission, had always been passionate about the technologies, the new sciences, you know, modern methods and tools to empower people. And that's what got him really driven to make this happen. But because he wasn't satisfied about what was available in the market. And that's because there were a lot of unethical things going on, a lot of practices that just didn't make sense to him. They were built on some of the older sciences that said we're all in competition, and he really couldn't support that kind of thing, you know, because of the lack of ethics that he found. And the more he looked, the more he started to lose hope, you know, saying, you know, there's just nothing out there that's going to match into the concept of freedom that he's got, the financial freedom in particular. And he was really looking for something that would give us some truly residual income, something that would free up the time in our lives and give us money to enjoy that time that we had. And even Mr. Mufara, you know, he'll tell you at that time, he was at a crossroads in his life about what to do about it. He wasn't sure, do I go ahead and give up on the dream of providing something that will really help people to get what they need in life and help them enjoy life? Or is it too big of a thing, and should I just pursue the needs of my own family and my own friends? Well, long story short, Mr. Mufara took the high road. He took the hard road, and he set out to create a business that was going to be clean, was done right, and sustainable as an ideal business model or an ideal business concept. He wanted it to be a company that does everything legally, and more importantly, well, equally importantly probably, it needed to be fair and it needed to be ethical. And that company emerged as ONPASSIVE, and that was about the middle of 2018 when things really got going and the concept came out and became something tangible. Now, Mr. Mufara already knew what was good in the marketplace. He knew what worked, right? And he knew what was right. And he also knew what to stay away from. This is because his entire education and experience has to do with online marketing. It has to do with technology. He's a degreed professional with a master's in information technology. And he also attended classes at Harvard to specifically learn about online businesses, right? And so he knew what it would take to make a good business, an ideal business model. And he knew what products were needed, or at least he knew at the time what products were being used all over all the time. And he knew if he were to create a fresh, superior version of those products, right, and create a business model that was fair, it was going to be a huge, huge game changer. So he and some of his close friends decided to put something together and go for it. But even then, toward the third quarter, fourth quarter of 2018, he really didn't have a detailed plan. They just decided to do it with a slogan he came up with. I'm sure you've heard before, the do it or die slogan. And it just simply meant that they were going to do whatever it took, and it was going to be done at any cost, even though they knew it was not going to be easy and that it was going to take a whole lot of time. And he was not willing to just sit back and do nothing, but rather he was willing to pay the price because he knew the outcome was going to be absolutely great. And that outcome is something that we're living with today and is moving forward. So Mr. Mufara shared that vision with some of his friends, right? The vision he had was to create some products in the platform that had certain features that would become a new business model. Um, if you want to know exactly what the points are and what this business model is, if you do a Google search for the ONPASSIVE business model, you'll come up with it. It's a business model that is so good that you can use it no matter what you're in. And if you follow the business model, you will be successful. I think there's 11 points to it, but you can check it out. So anyway, he shared that vision and he talked about the model and he explained that there were businesses that would really, really benefit greatly from a new model like this, right? And most of these were in the marketing arena, the digital marketing and internet marketing spaces, where individuals and businesses and organizations could use this new model to create and expand on any previously enjoyed successes. So those friends thought, wow, this is a really great concept. They agreed to move forward, and they figured, well, it's time to get to work. So the first thing they did was to create a way for other people to join in the effort, to join ONPASSIVE, to join this new model that they were on the journey of building, right? We all know what GoFounders is, or if you're new and you're not a founder out here, you'll know about GoFounders shortly, because that's the founders program they came up with. And by design, the GoFounders made it easy and affordable for people to join, and it provided accessibility to anybody that had the desire to be successful and wanted to come into it. But it's also important to know that it's not an investment. The founder position is a pre-registration for the ONPASSIVE business, just to kind of throw that out there as a little bit of a disclaimer. And this is to say that ONPASSIVE is the main business and GoFounders is the only position or package, in a way, that's available by invitation only in pre-launch, which is where we are now, in the pre-launch phase of the business. There was never, even from the start, Mr. Mufara never set a deadline or gave dates exactly when ONPASSIVE was going to be launching, right? So we came out with this concept. He introduced the concept of GoFounders, and this was toward the third quarter of 2018. So we're coming to the end of 2018, going into 2019. And before all of this, before he even started with the GoFounders, Mr. Mufara had created platforms previously that allowed a lot of others to succeed that were on his teams. These things that he created, these platforms, they weren't for his business. He never had a real business of his own, but he used these things he created as team giveaways to make his team successful. But now, right, going into 2018, Mr. Mufara was looking to create his own business. Now, having previously worked with people all over the place, he had several countries, Canada, the U.S., Malaysia, Egypt, Argentina, Philippines. I mean, he worked all over the place, right? But he checked with his contacts to see if any of them were up to par, so to speak, or able to be exclusive to OnPassive for OnPassive and what he wanted to do. And there were two companies in India that he knew about that were able to provide a dedicated team. But one of them, a small company that was in the state of West Bengal in the city of Kolkata, was downsizing. It was about to lay off some of their tech members, some of their developers and techies. So rather than let the techs lose their livelihood, Mr. Mufara hired them, and that team was the spark, quote unquote, that Mr. Mufara said was the beginning of OnPassive. And that office, which was in Kolkata at the time, well, we quickly maxed that out. But while we were there, we created the automated Go Founders site. Now, you'll probably realize if you're a founder and you've been here a long time, that site, the new Go Founders site, which was automated, it went live in December of 2018. And it had tools to invite other founders and to pre-build the network of existing founders, right? And what we wanted to do was get that all automated so Mr. Mufara could focus on building OnPassive unhindered. Now, meanwhile, still in Calcutta, we couldn't find the technical expertise to grow the teams, right? And at that time, we had, a dozen or more, or actually more than a couple of dozen, I think, simply because of the location. The tech expertise just wasn't there. So because the talent wasn't found there at Calcutta where we were, we relocated the original office from there to Bangalore. And a lot of you probably know that Bangalore then was known as the Silicon Valley of India. It's a really high-tech, fast-growing technical area. And from about December of 2018, Go Founders really didn't work as well as he wanted it to, right? I mean, there were glitches. We had double payments. We had merchant issues, email delivery problems. Needless to say, there was a lot of bugs in the system, so to speak, and nothing really worked right until about April of 2019, right? End of first quarter 2019. That's when things really started moving smoothly in Go Founders. And in Mr. Mufara's words, that's when he said, you know what, quote unquote, we really got it right. And this was about the time that Mr. Mufara, some of you may remember, called for an unplanned webinar. He had sent out a request to the founder base with a subject line that said, I quit. That's all it said, I quit. And it was later dubbed the I Quit webinar. We had a lot of fun with that. Well, that turned out to be a shock strategy to get the membership's attention and to relay to us, the founders at the time, what the reality was of what we were trying to do. And it also marked for OnPassive a strategy change. Alrighty. Now we're talking at the end of the first quarter of 2019, and some of you probably remember that. But during the first part of the webinar, he explained that he was going to quit giving deadlines. That he was going to quit giving dates and timelines for projects and things like that, because the process that we were in and he was involved with and the work they were doing was simply too fluid. He really couldn't promise anything like that. Needless to say, that created quite a stir with the founders. We ended up losing, 2 or 3 dozen founders, refunded their money, let them go on their way, kissed their forehead, so to speak, and said adios, picked up the pieces and continued on. But I can tell you from personal experience, after the recording of that webinar, man, we had one of the best webinars because we went on for an hour after that. It was one of the best ones I'd ever attended in my life. So anyway, around June 2019, we had added some more marketing tools to what was now what we called a full-fledged product suite, because we had about a dozen products going on and they were all being developed, created from scratch and moving up. And meanwhile, the founder base kept right on growing. By the end of the month, right, this was at the end of the second quarter 2019, we had about 30,000 founders. Now, Mr. Mufara was expecting about 5,000 founders, and then we were going to jump into this marketing platform with a few products, and that was going to be that. He really didn't expect this thing to take off like it did and take him the direction. But man alive, I'm telling you, we had to add more staff to the office in Bangalore, right? And that marked a spot for us too. That Bangalore office going into the second quarter 2019 is when OnPassive went from a standard online marketing company to an IT company, right? And it did that by joining a business sector that dealt with computing. And that included software, telecommunications, and, well, generally anything that was involved in communication or any systems that help to transmit that type of information. Now, once information technology, IT, was added atop our already pretty massive network, right, the marketing platform, it all started moving a whole lot quicker. And that was right in the middle of 2019. Now, during this time, we're adding staff and we're adding money to the budget. And there's been a development of new core digital products that emerged. And again, all these are being created from scratch. They're writing the code on their own. They've got content, conceptually at least, they had radical breakthrough technologies that were also emerging. You know, they were coming up with some pretty neat stuff. So we continued to expand our capabilities. And as our entire scope grew along with the product base, we had to start looking at things like automation as a means to streamline the efficiencies, because the ecosystem of the products that we had created was quickly becoming the core in the product structure, and we needed something to make it run smoother and faster and better, so to speak. You know, it's kind of putting it in the blender and make it all mesh together better. But by the time we got into the third quarter of 2019, we had about 35 to 40,000 active founder accounts. Right about this time, we realized a couple of things. First, the automation that we kept asking our developers for, it wasn't even possible with the traditional technology the stuff that we had and that we were trying to use. Secondly, I guess that's the word, we didn't have the expertise on staff to add all the features that we wanted. But he knew we did not want to outsource, right? We did not want to give control of any part of the company to any third party. And those realizations led us to pursuing to have everything done in-house. And that included full automation. And that's what pushed Mr. Mufara into the realm of artificial intelligence, or more specifically, to begin learning and writing our own machine learning code. So as a result, we actually incorporated our own AI into what quickly turned our product suite into a smart business solution, what we call the SBS. And then when we added the newly created products, right, that we couldn't have done previously in-house because we didn't have the expertise, when we started adding those, that SBS became the internet's first ever digital and internet solution. And we started calling that very proudly Total Internet Solution, the TIS, and it had full and complete automation. So already, before we're even really going well into the pre-launch, we're making history by everything that he's already coming up and a lot of firsts that we're coming across with, right? And so that kind of in a nutshell has been our actual evolution. We went from marketing, right, a marketing platform that we thought was going to have, you know, a 90, 100-day launch window, and I had probably a budget cap of 100 to 150,000, something like that. But we went from that marketing in 2018 to a technology and artificial intelligence machine learning company in 2019, and it became the first business, right, that we know of to provide everything, a complete solution, so that anybody that joins OnPassive has no need to go anywhere else for anything else. And that evolution pushed our market cap from 2 to 3 million in the marketing industry to nearly 5 billion, because everybody that goes online has got at least one reason why they need to come to OnPassive. And by the end of 2019, by the end of the year, we are over 50,000 founders, right? 50,000 active founder accounts. Now, 2020 rolls in with a bang, right? And guess what happened? Boom, COVID, right? Man, that pandemic came in, I mean, all over the globe, everybody was hit hard. But India, where our IT hub is, it was hit hard. Our IT hub had been shut down more than once and conducted minimal ops or operations. And that was directed by the prime minister. Again, more than once that happened, but didn't slow Mr. Mufara down, didn't slow the team down. They made some adjustments, and during some of this time, those that could worked from remote locations. Those that couldn't didn't, but we kept moving forward. Of course, some of the timelines, every time we hit something pretty heavy, the timeline got pushed out. And that means when we started more products, when we increased budgets, obviously that pushes the timeline out. But we expanded everything further and further. We developed more high-level IT products. We started beefing up because he had some of these products that were complete at the time. But Mr. Mufara does like fancy, and he likes complete, and he likes unlimited. So he would go back to these products, and they would have ideas to beef them up and make them better. So he'd pull them back to the drawing board while they're working on creating the other stuff, and they'd beef these other products up, right? And some of these became standalone businesses, which in turn became individual departments. And now, as we're speaking, because they really did pile up, we've probably, or at the time, we had 15, 20, 30 of these departments. We've got somewhere north of that, probably in excess of 50 or 40 or something. I'm not really sure. There's a bunch of them. And by the end of the first quarter in 2020, we were working on dozens of products, and our founder base had actually grown to over 66,000, which was phenomenal. And everybody was kind of freaking, saying, wow, we never expected that. We expected more like 5,000 or less, and then to launch. But we'd gotten so big. The products became departments, and the expenditures, they skyrocketed. The products and programs and services pushed our digital evolution way beyond what we expected. By the end of June in the second quarter of 2020, we hit 100,000 founders, right? We continued to grow, kept doing the same thing. We started adding more staff. We're beefing more things up. We're adding more money. We moved the AI into financial infrastructure as well as the digital infrastructure. And by the end of third quarter in 2020, we hit 200,000 founder accounts. I mean, we're just going gangbusters. By then, we're a much more attractive business. We're attracting more high quality leaders. And by the end of October, we were up at 250,000 plus. We had a few dozen departments, and by the end of the year, we doubled again. And then we went and we doubled again. This number is only growing. We've seen it in the last year, and it's only going to grow more as the world finds out exactly what we've got, which are proprietary products and technologies that have never been done before. It's all clean. It's all authentic. It's genuine. It's scalable. It's fair. The cost is incredible. You can't even compare it to anything else. Quite frankly, it's priceless. It's a super high value for minimal cost, and it speaks to the potential and the demand that ONPASSIVE is going to have and already has, and it's going to be huge. So meanwhile, to change gears just a little bit, we also have an office in Orlando, in Florida, right? We are an American company. It's a real office, but it's rented as a managerial space. However, we did outgrow the rented IT office in Bangalore, and it only took 2 or 3 months to max that one out. And rather than expanding the office that we had in Bangalore, India, the hub was actually moved to High Tech City. That's in Hyderabad, India. And by the end of 2020, we had it fully staffed, right? That office was. And we've got new offices being planned. In less than a year, we went from 400,000 to more than 1 million founder accounts, and that's represented in our community. We saw the 6th upgrade for the GoFounders platform. The 6th one actually was never even used, though, and we're going straight from number 5. They canned number 6, and they created the 7th, which really isn't an upgrade at all because it's a brand new platform, and GoFounders has been slated for retirement, and this new platform is going to replace it, and it fits into the O product theme of ONPASSIVE and we call it O Founders. Now that change is expected any day now. And following that change, we're expecting that Mr. Mufara is probably going to ease us into what we call the beta testing, and that's going to be part of the the VIP semi-launch, or some version of a title like that. I don't know. There's some question about what we're calling it, but that's pretty close. And during this, we're going to be testing the marketing and the money flow components of the entire system, its structure. And whenever Mr. Mufar is happy with the performance of the products, the financial structure, and everything the way that it's running, he's going to probably ease us into what we call the official public launch. And we're hoping that's going to be, probably before the end of the year. I don't know. I'm sure he'll tell us. I know that this evening he was on. He is traveling up the East Coast. He was on a webinar this afternoon, and it indicated he had some pretty nice things he's going to share with us over the next few days, I believe. And so we'll just let that lie like that, know that we're in for some pretty good information in the next couple of days. So kind of keep an eye out for that. I'm sure Marty DeGarmo and those people that are in the know will certainly let us know. But right now, we're a groundbreaking AI information technology company. All right, our intellectual property is cutting edge. The innovative IA base, they're all wrapped together like a sheath right around Mr. Mufar's original vision. We're being watched real closely around the globe. I'm telling you, the tech companies out there, those big tech guys, they know who we are and they are watching us. We got platforms for email and marketing, domains and web and training and education and AI chat and bots and trackers and employee management, social media and payment solutions and webinars and crowdfunding. And we got everything for anybody that needs to do anything. So the beauty of it is that it's all connected to each other, right? They're fully integrated, they're fully functional, and they're completely automated through AI. And that's the magic of ONPASSIVE. And when you put together everything that you've got there in a digital ecosystem, right? A massive, massive platform, and you put the heart that we put into this, which means that we care for people and we want to lift humanity with what we're doing, then we are the company for the age, and we've got everything that you've been looking for. Now, I'm going to draw this to a close, but I do want to find a quote from Mr. Mufar to kind of explain. I love this quote because it just really lays it out. And he says it this way, and I quote, "You pay and you own the world. That's it. That's what ONPASSIVE is. Everything that you need to communicate, to learn, to educate, to earn, to connect with the world, to promote your business, to any activity that goes around your daily life, today's life, is already in ONPASSIVE. Once you make that payment, the light goes on."
I want to thank you so much for listening to this. Additionally, if somebody's invited you to join us, please get back with that founder and sign up in that team. If not, and you'd like to become a founder, well, we'd certainly love to have you in our team, as any of us would. So please, click on the link in the description box below and you can join right now, or even go to onpassive.com and you can certainly join from that platform as well. But either way, you're going to be glad that you did. And whatever you decide to do, just know that we look forward to working with you and wish only blessing upon you and your entire family.